Hello, my name is Michael Wynn, and this is my informative speech on the suicide rates within the armed forces. I chose this topic because I was actually a former suicide prevention officer inside the military, so this is something I hold really dear to my heart. Now, for my audience, I have my lovely fiance here.
Hi, I'm married.
Unfortunately, I was not able to get 6 audience members as we are still new to the area. I just got out of the military and stuff, but ultimately, I'm just going to go ahead and go over a few things about it and try to inform more on the subject itself. So with suicide in the military, there is actually a significant spike since 2010. According to the Department of Defense Quarterly Suicide Report for the fiscal year of 2014, published through the Department of Defense, we actually are currently experiencing 22% of our military and service members committing suicide. For the fiscal year of 2014, it was 22%. So the number is increasing a lot. We see that through the conflicts of Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, obviously playing their own role as well. So in accordance to the deployments, that's going to be a really big factor when contributing to the mental health of soldiers today. Now, as a suicide prevention officer, while I was working in the Army, we frequently referred to the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Suicide Prevention Officers Manual, and that's the 3rd edition currently, published through the 3rd Army Training Regiment out of Georgia. And through the works of Wenzel, Brown, and Carlin, you can clearly see that a lot of things are experienced during times of war. And that includes trauma, exposure to combat, things that are normally exposed to the average American. So these actual exposures and experiences will lead to certain things, cause certain effects, such as PTSD, and other mental health conditions. Most soldiers who actually commit suicide experience prior mental health conditions before they do so. Now, in a war zone, they're going to be a lot more desensitized towards the value of life. This is something that is frequently reported as well. So they see as their own life as not as valuable as others, and that's what drives towards depression and towards suicide itself. And depression goes hand in hand with combat tours of duty and so forth. Through the article of Depression and the Military through Healthline Magazine in 2012, it shows that 30% of personnel returning from a combat duty station actually report that they are suffering from depression. I myself, coming back from a deployment, experienced this lighter here and there, but was able to recognize the symptoms earlier. That is something that a lot of soldiers today are trained on. However, the resources aren't allocated enough towards it to make it efficient. Now, depression obviously gears towards suicide. Depression alters a lot of chemicals in the brain that makes it so forth that you're more apathetic towards life, and that gives you less of a resilient aspect towards things, and that can drive soldiers to suicide as well. But the main thing that's actually causing the suicide, based off of the training manual, is that over 50% of soldiers will not ask for help when they're experiencing suicidal thoughts. And that's due to stigma of feeling weak in an army. In the military itself, it promotes a lot of strength. And being able to actually vocalize that you are experiencing a lapse of weakness is not something that's encouraged at all. Also, trusting. Trust issues stem from this as well. In a tour of duty, when you're with a group of guys for a year time, and then you come home and you try to trust somebody completely different, regardless if they're a healthcare professional, it makes it difficult to kind of gear and transition towards that. Now, not asking for help, depression, and deployments are obviously the big things that are contributing towards our large suicide rates right now in the military. And it's unavoidable as we are going through a war. Now, the Army has allocated a ton of new funds towards helping this. There's a lot of more promotions towards asking for help, and soldiers are required to carry assistant cards of what to do when they feel as though their buddy is contemplating suicide, which is an inspectable item now, can be checked by any line leader. So they are making conscious efforts to encourage soldiers to ask for help, but at the same time, it's still an alarming issue. So that is my informative speech. If any further questions, feel free to let me know.